Welcome to Tamez Labs. I'm Tripwire. Today we're looking at Etched, a chip company out of San Jose that started with a memo, got turned down by pretty much everyone, and just closed a round that values them at $5 billion. The story is really about what three founders saw coming in AI infrastructure that the smartest money in the room completely missed. A 30-page memo. That's what it came down to. A couple of years ago, 3 Harvard dropouts wrote a document arguing that AI was about to need a completely different kind of chip. They took it to every serious investor they could find, and one by one, those investors passed. The company was running month to month, close to the edge, close to running out of cash. Roughly 2 years later, that same company is worth $5 billion. So the question I want to sit with today is a simple one. What did those 3 founders see in that memo that the smartest money in the room could not? Hold on to that, because the answer is the whole story. The company is called Etched, and to understand what they're building, you have to understand the difference between 2 words that sound almost identical but cost wildly different amounts of money: training and inference. Training is how you build an AI model. It's expensive, it's slow, it happens once. Inference is what happens every single time you type a prompt and hit enter. It's the model actually doing the work, answering, thinking, generating. Here's the part most people miss. Inference is where the real bill comes from. Every query, every user, every day, forever. If training is building the restaurant, inference is cooking every meal for every customer for the rest of the restaurant's life. And right now, the kitchen is the bottleneck. The chips doing that cooking are general-purpose GPUs, mostly NVIDIA's, and they are brilliant machines. But they were built to be good at many things, which means they were not built to be perfect at this one thing. When you push them hard, they hit a wall called thermal throttling. The chip gets too hot, so it slows itself down to keep from overheating. In practice, sustained throughput often drops below half of what the chip is theoretically capable of. You're paying for a race car and driving it with the parking brake on. Etched looked at that and made a bet. Instead of taking a general-purpose chip and coaxing it into doing inference, what if you designed everything, from the transistor to the token, for inference and nothing else? And I mean everything. The chips, the packaging, the circuit boards, the cold plates that carry away the heat, the interconnects between chips, the software on top, all co-designed as one system. They call the result a frontier inference cluster. Not a chip you buy and slot into someone else's rack, a full rack-scale system built as a single instrument. 2 ideas make it work. The first they call low-voltage inference. In plain terms, they run the math engine of the chip at less than half the voltage of a typical AI chip. Lower voltage means less heat. Less heat means you can pack more computing power into the same space without the chip throttling itself. They claim they can run trillion-parameter models at over 80% of peak performance. Not half, 80%. The second idea is cluster-scale memory. This one solves a trade-off that has haunted chip designers for years. There are 2 kinds of memory. One holds a lot but is slower to reach. The other is lightning fast but tiny. For a long time you had to pick high capacity or high speed. Etched built a hybrid, connected by their own ultra-low latency interconnect, so a whole cluster of chips can share memory that is both large and fast at once. Now, this is the point in the story where I'm supposed to raise an eyebrow, because building custom silicon is where ambitious companies go to die. It is one of the hardest things you can attempt in technology. The joke in the industry is that you need $1 billion and a miracle just to get a chip that turns on. So let me tell you about the receipts. Etched achieved something called A0 silicon success, first pass, meaning the very first version of their chip, fresh from the factory, worked on TSMC's advanced N4P process in under 3 years from their seed funding. If you know anything about how chips get made, that number should stop you. First chips usually don't work. That's the expected outcome. You find the bugs, you fix them, you try again, you burn months and millions. Etched skipped that. Their first one worked. And they did it while quietly booking over $1 billion in signed customer contracts before shipping a single rack. People are paying for hardware they haven't received yet, from a company most of them had never heard of a year ago. That brings us to the money. This past winter, Etched closed a $500 million Series B, led by the firm Stripes. That puts the company at a $5 billion post-money valuation, with $800 million raised in total across 4 financings that mostly happened out of public view. But the numbers aren't the interesting part. The names are. Peter Thiel is in. The quant trading world showed up in force. Jane Street, Hudson River Trading, Jump, 2 Sigma, the firms that live and die on shaving microseconds off computation, which tells you they looked hard at the latency claims and liked what they saw. And then there's the roster of AI luminaries writing personal checks. Andre Karpathy, Jeffrey Hinton, Fei Li, and a strategic investment tied to a deep partnership with the world's leading chip manufacturer, which in this business means TSMC. The founders are worth knowing. Gavin Uberti, the CEO, is a Thiel Fellow, a world math champion, and an expert in AI compilers, which is exactly the rare overlap of chip and software knowledge this problem demands. His co-founders, Rob Walken and Chris Zhu, round out the same profile. Young, mathematically ferocious, and willing to bet their entire 20s on that 30-page memo. But the founders are only half the company. Etched has more than 400 people now, and most of them came from the places you'd want them to come from. NVIDIA, Broadcom, Google's TPU team, SK Hynix, TSMC itself. There's a vice president who spent 22 years at NVIDIA, building the very systems Etched now competes with. A production leader who ran the ramps for the original iPhone, the MacBook Air, and the Pixel. Their CTO ran a company that later sold for over $9 billion. And Walken has this line that I keep turning over. Production is the product. They didn't just design a chip and hand it to someone else to build. They stood up their own factory in Taiwan. They built a data center, a test house, and a prototyping lab at their San Jose headquarters. Design, validation, and production, under one roof, running around the clock. In a field obsessed with research breakthroughs, they decided the breakthrough was manufacturing. Now, they're not alone in seeing this. Grok raised $650 million. Cerebras had one of the year's breakout IPOs. Amazon, Google, and Microsoft are all building their own inference chips in-house. OpenAI is building custom silicon with Broadcom. The entire industry has woken up to the same truth at the same time. Inference is the prize. And NVIDIA, sitting at the center of all of it, remains the giant everyone is trying to route around. So back to that memo. What did the founders see that the room full of investors couldn't? They saw that you can't fix inference by swapping one part. Not a faster chip, not more memory, not better cooling. Every previous attempt tried to improve one piece of a system that was never designed for this job in the first place. Etched's argument was that the only way through was to build the whole thing, from the transistor to the token, as one designed object. That's a terrifying thing to pitch. It's also, it turns out, the reason it hadn't been done. The investors who passed weren't wrong about the risk. They were wrong about the people willing to take it. And the meal is still cooking. Somewhere in San Jose, 24 hours a day, and somewhere in Taiwan, The first racks are being assembled for customers who already paid. The parking brake, for once, is off. Thanks for spending time with us today. This is Tamez Labs. I'm Tripwire. We'll be back soon with another look at the companies reshaping what AI actually runs on.
Grab news. Tamez.